Me and Eddie have always had a good relationship. You know, I pretty much talk to him as much as I want. Like, you know, if I ever have any questions, and you know, I go to him and he comes back to me. We have a really good relationship. Yeah, I know he believes in me. He has from the start put me on the show, and I know that he respects my hustle and he respects what I do as well. Yeah, I know he wants to get me the big fights and he really wants to, you know, have me part of it. You know, I'm in a solid contract, so yeah, it's good. He's really relaxed, and you know, I'm the kind of person that just like talk to anyone anyways, you know, you know, I've got my manager doing, you know, the business, you know, a lot of the business side of stuff, but I just know that if I had any questions that I can go to Eddie and we can go, okay, got this idea, like, you know, what do you think, da 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 da, and he'll bounce, you know, bounce off back and forth, and yeah, it's good to have that. And then obviously when I see him in person, it's always nice, and we always have a good laugh and a good banter. I should bring it up though, because I did send him an inbox on Instagram, like before even getting on Twitter, and I sent him this thing, sent him actually a picture of Avril Mathy. She's like a babe as well. She's Aussie, but yeah, and also Shannon Courtney. And I just was like, these girls are kind of good looking, you know. And I was like, well, you want to sell something that looks good? So I said, hey, you know, I reckon we could make a lot of money together. You know, imagine our weigh-ins. You know, people are going to want to tune into this fight because there's good-looking women. Like, you know, and it's just common sense. Boxing is 80%, maybe more men. Like, you know, it's like, it's trying it. You know, get that market. Like, you can say what you want about being objectifying or sex selling, but hey, it works. And I just had to get my foot in the door. And why not use my looks, or why not use what I got to get my foot in the door? Because I couldn't use my boxing yet because I hadn't seen it, you know. So that's where I went with that. But yeah, I hadn't actually talked to him about that. But I remember sending him like my fights and like pictures of my weigh-ins, like, come on, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But he never replied to that, just saying. But yeah, I did try. For me, coming from a bodybuilding background as well, and doing fitness modeling, like, it was just natural for me to want to pose in my underwear or in a bikini, you know, and I kind of enjoyed that. It was like a little mini comp for me, you know, showing off my hard work on the scales, and I think that's where that comes from, being so confident in that. But I also was like, yeah, I just thought that it's just, again, like, it's a marketing thing, and it's not like I changed who I was to do that. I'm just like that, and I like to wear nice underwear, nice lingerie, and I like to look nice and put effort into my appearance, and it's just something that people weren't doing. And so I think the fact that it's just paving my own path and not listening to the haters and not listening to the people that try and tell me it was all wrong and stuff, and just doing my own thing and blocking it out and going, I don't care if you don't like it, because I like it, and you know, you're going to start to love it because now it's like trending, you know what I mean? So I'm not the only one that's doing it now, and it's cool to see that, you know, that it's bringing out kind of different, you know, different looks in boxing. And I think that's important in all sport. Because I was getting a lot of popularity and like my name was becoming a bit more known, and I was just getting inboxes with people like for foot fetish and like wanting to buy socks and stuff, and I just kind of brushed it, you know. And then one day I was like, you know, I'm just gonna, like, as a joke, like, this, see whatever, like, I was replied back and I was like, oh, okay, you want my socks? Fine, £500, you know. And he's like, all right, well, how do I get them? Like, where do I pay you? How do you take cash? I'm like, is this a stitch up? And I was like, okay, PayPal. And he's like, all right, sweet. And he goes, what happens? Like, do I give you my address? And I'm like, okay, this guy's serious. And I'm like, yeah, put it in there, send me your address and I'll send it out to you. And then he actually did, and I was like, damn, I actually really got to like post out my socks. And I actually thought it was so funny. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I like to banter, I like to joke around and engage with my fans. And I know what my fans and followers are like. And I just knew that they would think it was freaking hilarious. So I put up a tweet saying, oh, I love my British fans. You know, I've just sold a pair of my used training socks for £500. You guys are the best, easy money, hashtag, you know, whatever. And then that went viral, obviously on Twitter, and heaps of people resharing it. And even some of the boys, like, you know, like popular boxers and UFC fighters retweeting and saying they'll sell theirs for like £50 or something like this. And then, yeah, it just went through all the news around the world and probably bring me in another 10K in a couple of weeks, because then they all came out in force like, hey, we want your socks. I was like, okay, this is going to work. So yeah, now it's just like not bad, but still happens, definitely. With women's boxing, when we get in that ring, what we do, people are going to watch and they go, well, that's women's boxing. They're not going to, it's not like you watch Sean Porter, for example, and go, okay, well, that's men's boxing. You know, that's Sean Porter. But with women, it's like, oh yeah, that's what female boxing is like. So if you have a bad women's boxing fight, straight away it's like, oh, that's women's boxing. They're the shit, they're shit. You know, if you have a good women's boxing fight, you're representing not just you're representing all of us. So when we have a good female fight, it's like, wow, women's boxing is really coming a long way. You're not like, oh wow, she's a great fighter, but you tend to be, everyone starts talking about how good women's boxing is. and that person as well. But it's like, it really is something that when you jump in that ring, you're not just repping yourself. And I think that's why we do stick together, because we know, in a way, we're doing it for each other. When we jump in that ring, we're representing each other as much as we are ourselves. And, you know, I think that's another reason why we should always train really hard, and we should put these good fights on, because unfortunately society judges women's boxing on those fights. You would never judge a men's fight and go, oh, that's like, if it's a crappy fight, and go, oh, men's boxing's shit. Like, you just go, that was a shit fight, you know? But yeah. Everything that I do is for my fans, you know. If it wasn't for my fans, I wouldn't be where I am. And I say this over and over again. Before Eddie even signed me, you know, who were my promoters? My fans. They promoted me. They were retweeting, they were sharing, they were screaming, they were tagging Eddie, going, get her over here. Like, it was them. You know, I stopped tagging Eddie. I didn't need to tag Eddie. You know, I was like that for like the first month or so, but then I didn't need to. I just sat back, and all my fans and my followers, they're my promoters. They're the ones that were pushing me. You know, so I always give back to my fans. So that's why I always want to go out of my way to go to the communities. I go to do meet and greets, and I do these things for the fans, because I have genuine respect and genuine appreciation for the fans. Because if it wasn't for them and it wasn't for their following and belief in me, I wouldn't be where I am. There's no way, you know. And and it just keeps building, you know. And that's just setting me up for my future as well. So, you know, I can't wait to get back out there and fight in front of the fans with a bit more notice. Like I said, my last fight was like a week notice. I feel like, imagine if I had a world title fight with, like, you know, the fans had like 8 weeks notice, or to get tickets and to get there. Like, I think it would be huge.